Hi everyone, my name is Sana Safuddin. I'm an analyst at Key Performance Ideas, and today I'm going to be showing you this cool new feature with EPBCS called navigation flow. Now, we're all familiar with this really interesting, the simplified user interface. It's intuitive, it's user-friendly, and then one of the new features that EPBCS brings up is being able to customize these little cards you see. Each of these little icons are called cards. Some of them are clusters that kind of are similar to folders that contain other cards. So let me go ahead and show you. So for example, if I click on financials, you'll see that this is a cluster because it contains all these alternative cards. Now, each of these different cards are customized depending on, it's pre-built. So let's go ahead and click on balance sheet and just take a look at kind of how this balance sheet is structured. Just going to hold on for a moment while it loads. Something really interesting about this navigation flow is the ability to switch between different forms, and that's kind of what we're going to see here. So when we're going to be going in and trying to customize these alternative cards, we'll be able to say, hey, on this one screen, I want to show a couple of different forms, and users will be able to switch between these different forms. So now that we have this popped up, we see that this is the dashboard and for the balance sheet. And then there's a few different tabs here. So let's go ahead and click on the second tab. It's called driver and trends based. And on this tab, we're going to notice that horizontally lined are alternative links to other forms as well. So it's just going to take a minute to load. So kind of what we see here, we see a form here, here's another form, and here's another. And this is something that was built within navigation flow. So this is something that we'll be learning how to do today. And then just looking at this last one right here, this is another tabular page, as they call it, with alternative forms and dashboards on horizontally placed right here. So if we just click to them, we can easily switch between them. We can see some data here. So it's really interesting how this navigation flow really makes it very convenient for users to kind of switch between different forms and how it works. So so let's begin and kind of understand how to access navigation flow. So if we go ahead and click Tools, we're going to have all these other cards right here, and we're going to click on Navigation Flow. Going to be a moment. So now we are, a page opens up, Navigation Flow. And so here's a few things that I would like to know. First off, this demo navigation flow is what we're going to be working with today. I'm actually going to delete it and create a new one so we can work through it together. But one thing to know is that in order to edit any new navigation flow, you have to make sure that it's inactive. An active navigation flow cannot be edited. Over here, you'll see a role/group. This is where we can specify what type of different roles and groups that can actually access or see this navigation flow. Here we have this brief description here, and this here indicates whether a navigation flow is active or not. So in order to simply activate a navigation flow, all you have to do is simply click on inactive, active, and it'll immediately activate it. So let's go ahead and begin. We are going to be copying actually this default navigation flow. That's the only way we can actually create an alternative navigation flow is by creating a copy either an existing one you might have made already or the default one. It's always preferred to start with default. Here, let's go ahead and name it Sun's navigation flow. So now now it's made, it's under our navigation flows, and now we're going to go ahead and click on it and begin the editing process. So some of you might be thinking, oh, how is navigation flow similar or different from task list? So task list has the ability to include URLs and other external sources. However, navigation flow doesn't quite have that ability. However, navigation flow can include task lists, but not the other way around. In addition, task lists might have deadlines where navigation flow doesn't. However, you could create multiple navigation flows to activate a certain navigation flow when you have the planning period going on or whatnot. So you could use it in that way. So first off, there's a couple of things that I want to go ahead and show you or teach you some steps. The first thing is that if you're planning on creating a cluster, kind of like what we saw earlier with financials, how financials has like multiple cards underneath it, in order to create that cluster, it's always a good idea to go ahead and begin by creating a cluster rather than creating a card. So we're going to go ahead and add a cluster. And here we're going to name it, demo cluster. And we're going to keep it visible. And here I can also choose a different icon that I'd like for my cluster to have. So let's go ahead and see. I really like the color purple, so I'm just going to use this purple icon right here. So now we've created a cluster. Obviously, there's no cards underneath it. Now we have to go about and create different cards. So we're going to click on Add Card and start the creation process. So first off, for example, in this card, I want to make it a form. I want to make it multiple forms, actually. So I'm going to say Forms Demo. And I'm going to make sure that it's under the demo cluster. This is the cluster I just created. I'm going to leave the icon for later. I'm going to figure that out in a little bit. So kind of similar to how we saw in balance sheets, how one tab was able to have multiple references to alternative forms. In order to have that same format, you choose tabular page on the page type. And you can choose the orientation of where you'd like to place those tabs that we saw, whether you like it to be vertically or horizontally. I'm just going to keep it vertical. It's just pleasing to the eye and kind of easy to follow along. And I'm going to go ahead and click Add Tab. And I think one thing I want to just correct is here, this Add tab gives you the ability to add those vertical components to your card. This is where we specify how many different references we'd like in our form or what other artifact or component of the application we'd like to show. So we're going to call this Form 1, and we're going to make this a tabular page, and we're going to say Add Subtab. Here we only have the option to add a single page, so you can't, kind of drill in, keep on drilling in and keep on adding tabular pages. That would be like that wouldn't work out here. So instead, we're going to, it only gives you the ability to add a single page. So we're going to go ahead and say we're going to add a balance sheet to this. We're going to say balance sheet 1. And we have the choice of it being an artifact or recustomizing it. I'm just going to choose artifact. When I choose artifact and I click on this little magnifying glass, it opens up a library of different forms and dashboards for me to use. So these are all the available forms. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and choose a balance sheet form. It's going to take a minute. So for under Oracle Financial Statements, we have balance sheet. Let's go ahead and choose plan. And we're going to click OK. This balance sheet, and I'm going to say dash plan because we chose the plan. And now I can give it an icon. I'm going to give it the sole form icon and save it. So now I have one reference to a plan, a balance sheet plan. And now I want to go ahead and make sure that when I see my page, I want to see the plan, I want to see the forecast. So I'm going to go ahead and add another tab. I'm going to name it Balance Sheet Forecast. And I'm going to keep it an artifact, and we're going to search it up here and look for forecast. Or we can go ahead and search it in the search bar and see what that gives us. Okay, perfect. Right here, balance sheet forecast. And click OK. We're going to save and close it. And you'll see that I forgot to add an icon. Oops. So how do I go back? It's very simple. You just click on balance sheet again, and you're going to click on icon. And here you're going to go ahead and choose whatever icon you'd like. Again, I'm going to choose the same full form icon as before just to keep it consistent. Okay, please choose an icon before you save. Okay, so now I have to choose an icon for the tab that I'm creating, the tab that we saw earlier on the left-hand side. So let's go ahead and select an icon. And let's see what can we choose. Okay, this looks like a balance, so we're going to choose this one for our balance sheet. We're going to save and we're going to close it. So now we have one tab in our card for this forms demo that we're creating. Let's go ahead and create another tab. We're going to call this Forms 2, and we're going to go through a similar process. No, actually, instead of using forms, let's go ahead and say this is a dashboard instead, or a balance sheet. And we're going to keep this as a single page, and we're going to choose an artifact, and we are going to add a dashboard instead. Let's see. Okay, right here. Right in front of us is the OFS balance sheet. We're going to go ahead and save that. You can choose any icon you want. So again, EPBCS is giving you this more leeway to kind of personalize and customize the little cards and what you see on your home screen. Now we have two tabs in our card. I think that's good enough for this portion of it. We're going to go ahead and click Save and Close. Oh, whoops, I also forgot to choose an icon. So we're going to go ahead and select our icon. So let's see. Since we're talking about money, well, when are we not talking about money when it comes to EPBCS? But let's go ahead and choose this purple icon right here. And we're going to say Save and Close. And now you can see that the Forms demo, this card that we just created, it is under our cluster card. So awesome, we did it right. It was great. And now let's go ahead and say that, for example, I want to move this cluster that I've created. I want to move it all the way up here along with financials and products and capital workforce. So let's go ahead and move it. Move cluster. Oh, this is where we can move cluster into an alternative cluster. But what I want to do here is I want to just lift this cluster all the way up here. So I'm going to click on our cluster right here. And we're going to just press this arrow button. And one at a time, it'll kind of just continue shifting up. So let me see if we can drag and place this. No, we can't drag it. We have to kind of click and move it. So here's another good instance. Now we've learned kind of how to move and rearrange the order of the clusters that appear on our home page. So what about a situation where we already have an existing card, but we just want to place it under our cluster? So for example, I want to place this report, this card reports under my cluster. All I'm going to do is click this arrow that's kind of facing the right-hand side, and I'm going to click on the cluster I want to move this card into, which is the demo cluster. Clicking that, and I open this up, and just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we have our report under our demo cluster. So, for example, I guess I'm going to go ahead and add another, let's go ahead and add a card, but instead of using tabular page like we were before, let's use the single page. And this one, I'm going to go ahead and call rules. And the cluster I want it to be in, or actually, since we have two rules, we're going to say rules, and we're going to say PBCS, just to have like a variety of names. And the cluster I want it to be in, I want it to be in a demo cluster. And now instead of choosing artifact, I'm going to go ahead and click on custom. Custom gives me the ability to choose all these different components of the application, so I can choose amongst dashboard, task lists, forms, and rules. I'm going to go ahead and click on rules. Okay, again, the icon. Let's choose our icon here. And this looks kind of mathematical. So let's go ahead and choose that. We're going to save, and we're going to close. Now we see that a new card has been created, and it's under our cluster. Great. Everything looks good. Now, before I save and close this cluster, I want to go ahead and write a little description. This navigation flow was created for the purpose of a demo. And now, if I decided that, hey, I don't want everyone to see this navigation flow, I only want a certain number, a certain group, or a certain role to be able to see this navigation flow. So what I would do is that I would click the search button, and it shows the different roles and the different groups that I could possibly select in order to be able to see this navigation flow. But for here, we're just going to keep it open. Since I'm under the administrator, regardless, I'll be able to see this navigation flow. And there you go. Now, this feature, why could this be useful? This feature could be useful for if you are trying to only focus certain components of the application for a certain end users. You can create a cluster in order to help them easily access each of these components of the application. So now that I want to activate it, I'm going to go ahead and click on that and activate it. And then I'm going to go to the home button, and I'm going to, I think I accidentally clicked the wrong button once that loads. I'm going to go ahead and, sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and sign out and sign back in. As you can see right now, the dashboard has not been applied. You don't see my customized card here. I'm going to sign out and sign back in real quick and show you how it looks. So. Now that we're signing in, oh, right here. There you go. Our demo cluster has been created just like that. Wonderful and beautiful, and it goes along with the rest of the simplified interface, the interactive and user-friendly cards that EPBCS has displayed. So let's go ahead and check out our cards and kind of how they look. So we created this to be a tabular page, and we wanted it to have sub-tabs placed horizontally, so we can see that we have a balance sheet plan here and a balance sheet forecast right here for us and all our data. And we also have an available dashboard as well. right here. So that was great. And all of the cards that we created under our cluster demo have, as if you notice, have been placed horizontally on the top. So you can easily switch between each of these cards and kind of look at the different aspects of the navigation. It really helps planners, you know, kind of see the flow of things. So that's a really interesting feature that was great to see EPBCS bring on this. So similarly, you can see that like clusters are used for conveniently accessing different cards. So in applications, we can easily access overview and settings, and kind of in tools, how we saw navigation flow, we were able to access navigation flow and edit our appearances and whatnot. So that was how to customize your navigation flow. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please stay tuned and keep updating yourself on key performance ideas and the new blogs we put out. And thank you so much, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.